Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and welcome back for part 2 of the Hero Arts August 2017 kit. For card 1, I made a galaxy background. This is the Jennifer McGuire technique. If I kept that in, the video would have been obnoxiously even more so long. So I'll probably do a video for that separately. But what I'm doing is I mixed the Nouveau Gold embellishment mousse with molding paste, and I'm putting it through the stencil that was part of the kit on top of that galaxy background. I wasn't quite sure what this was going to do, but remember, in her technique, she used the distress oxides, and so did I. And what was really cool is they reacted to it. So you get the gold shimmer and the oxides actually coming through. I used My Favorite Things Stitch rectangle die, and I cut out a panel from that background. I'm then going to heat emboss the sentiment from the kit onto a piece of navy blue cardstock. I'm going to be using gold embossing powder. Again, that is from Recollections. I got it from Michael's, or my local Michael's craft store. We're going to heat set that, and then that will come through the panel. It's not going to be a shaker card. I took one of the, I call them the children's dies, the little girl, and I cut that out 3 times from navy blue cardstock, and pretty much I'm going to create our own chipboard and gluing them on top of each other. She's going to be placed down on the bottom corner as if she's reaching for that or pointing to that photo. Going to apply some foam tape to the back. I just want this panel raised up from the sentiment, and we're going to center that on there. And then we're going to pop this on our standard top folding 4 1/4 and 5 1/2 card base. Then going to glue her. I can't talk today. Glue her in place. And then I grabbed my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen and going to accent her. And then I grabbed the sequins from the kit and place those around in the star areas of this panel. The glue that I'm using is Art Glitter Glue. It is a really, really good glue. It does dry matte, and it's very strong. And no, there's no glitter in it. And that's card number 1. For card number 2, we're still using the Nouveau Mousse gel, and you can see that panel in the background. I was all over the place with this. So I've taken that, spread that out onto a card, and I'm going to die cut through that. So pretty much I've created almost my own shimmer paper. And I actually, you'll see that image again, I actually cut 2 of them out. So I used a Scalloped edge die, frame die from Fawn. And I'm placing that piece on the center so that I can arc this sentiment right over that die cut. And we're going to grab our gold embossing powder again, and we're going to set the image in place. Or not the image. We're going to set our sentiment and heat set that. Now we're going to take our die cut and we're going to secure that in place. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of weight on that just to make sure that it'll dry flat. I'm going to do the same thing, came up with an idea, added more gold to this piece of paper, and now I'm going to use the star dies that came in this kit. And I'm actually going to die cut 3 of those stars, 1 of the large and 2 of the smaller ones. And we're going to position those down on the bottom right hand corner when it comes to when it comes to this panel. So just working on the position of it, because what I want to do is I actually want to draw the line that comes from the little boy's hand that's sitting in the moon. I'm using a Faber-Castell Artist Pitt pen. I've then taken navy blue cardstock, once again, used the MFT Wonky stitched die, placed my white design panel on top of that, using a piece of fun foam so that I can raise this panel up from, again, the standard top folding 4 1/4 and 5 1/2 card. This sequin pack here I got from Stampin' Up. I don't believe they have it anymore. I believe it's been discontinued. But it just matched perfectly. It had black, white, gold, and clears and silver stars and sequins. It's a really good mix. So I figured I would pull that out, just position the stars around. The tool that I'm using is actually like a wax pencil that nail designers use, and I got it off of Amazon. You can get like 10 of them, very inexpensive, and it works great. That's card number 2. For card number 3, we're going to do some watercoloring. And you can see I grabbed the girl, and she's got the strings when it comes to the stamp on this, and I have her in position. And I'm using painter's tape, and I always put it down on my skin to make it less tacky. This is Canson watercolor paper XL. And this is painter's tape from Frog, I think it's called. I'm not quite sure. I'll put it down in the description. But it actually comes wavy like this. So I positioned this on the watercolor paper, and I'm just going to create a dark sky image up in that top area. So it's almost going to look like I envisioned her. It's almost like the balloon that she's holding, and it's opening up to the galaxy. Some people are probably going to call it a portal, but it was just something that I saw. I did not keep all of the watercoloring that I did in here. Again, these videos do tend to get a little bit lengthy. So maybe I'll do some separate videos if anyone wants to see. If so, let me know down in the comments, and I can certainly create those. So I've added it, started out with the black. I'm using my Gonzai Kuretake watercolors, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. I have the 36 color pack. And I'm using the 3 colors. I'm using the dark blue, I'm using the bright pink, and I'm using the black. So I'm just mixing these colors in there. There's no rhyme or reason, just dropping it in. As I drop in colors, I'm adding water to it, and just letting the colors blend the way that they blend. I did want it to be dark, so I am putting more black than normal, but I'm just letting that come down and letting that sit at the edges. Once that's done and dry, I'm grabbing my Liquitex white ink, putting that on a block, grabbing just a general paintbrush, and I'm doing flicks of the white ink onto that area. I find if I use the white ink, it doesn't bleed through. The colors don't bleed through the white, and it will stay white. So I'm going to carefully pull off these tapes, and I'm going to position her back into place to make sure that those the strings are connected to that area. And yep, lost that footage. I've had a real great time when it came to videoing this, so I apologize. But I did use my VersaFine black Onyx ink to make sure that I got a crisp, dark black image for her. I grabbed the gold from my paint set, my watercolor set, and I'm literally going to paint on specks of gold. And then with a finer brush, you'll actually see that I do just a small amount of splatters in this area. So I think it, I think it came out pretty neat. It's different, that's for sure. So for our sentiment, I believe I'm using the Sentiment Shine Bright. And we're going to, of course, emboss that. And this is a piece of black cardstock. So we're going to get that into position. Again, we're going to use the gold. And then, of course, we'll make sure we'll clean it up. And we will be heat setting that. Once it's heat set, I'm gonna try to figure out where I exactly want to put this so that it doesn't take away from anything. Decided to fishtail one of the ends. And then we're going to trim that down. And then we will be using some foam tape to pop that up, just to add some dimension. But first, I'm going to use my favorite things, Wonky stitched rectangle die to cut that down. I remembered this time. And now that we have our sentiment in place, we're just going to trim off the back so that it doesn't stick out. And we're going to get it onto our base. I apologize again, lots of issues. It's a learning process. I hope I'm doing okay here. But lost lights, had to work with my overhead. What a difference when it comes to the lighting system. So I do apologize with that. I pulled out my Stickles for that card, accented it that way, and that was card number 3. So on to card number 4. Again, this is a sheet of the Canson Watercolor XL paper. It's one of my favorite watercolors. I know it's on it's the less expensive, but I think it works really well. So I used my anti-static tool for that, and now I've positioned the moon and the stars, all of the opened stamps when it came to this stamp set, onto an acrylic block, and I'm just going to sporadically stamp all over this and emboss it with white embossing powder. So again, didn't show the whole thing, but that whole panel is embossed. We're now going to watercolor, and again, didn't realize through the watercolor process I didn't turn on my camera. Yes. So I used 2 shades of yellow there, but you can see we've got it darker in the bottom corner, and then we're graduating up to the light in the top. I'm using the Lawn Fawn Stitch rectangle die to cut out my panel, and you'll see there's areas that I've cut into when it comes. I lost a whole section for this card. I am so sorry, guys. I had another idea to add dimension to this. You will see that we will remove those. So I grabbed the ribbon that actually comes with the kit. They do a really great job in packaging, and they wrap ribbon around the dies and the stamps and the base card that everything sits on. So I grabbed that because I really liked the color, and I'm going to put that around my card. Now you'll see, you think that I'm keeping the bow down onto the bottom. When I make bows, I actually tie them upside down. So you'll actually see, there we go. We flipped it because then the tails hang the way that they're supposed to. I am horrible at tying a bow. I wanted to keep the strings long, but I also wanted to make sure that they stayed in place. So I'm using some mini glue dots, and I'm just putting them on the ribbon and then positioning them on the card so that it keeps its dimension and then also keeps its shape. So you can see this card, out of this 5, this was the card that we had all kinds of issues with. So I took the Shine Bright sentiment and I cut it in half. You can see in the upper left-hand corner, I actually stamped it right onto the panel, and It didn't go well because, of course, I didn't use my stamping tool to make sure. So I didn't like that. So I figured, okay. So we stamped it on a piece of white cardstock, and I have a set of square stitched dies, and I believe they're from My Favorite Things. So I pumped it on there, or excuse me, stamped it on there. And then I wanted to give it just some texture to it and so forth. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my VersaMark ink and just applying it to the edge of the die cut where the sentiment is. So I decided to take the pad and wipe it along the side because then I would get more of a border when it comes to the embossing powders. So I'm dipping the card into the powder so that I get this edge. We're going to clean it up. Just clean the edges around it. And then we're going to heat set that in place. And I think it came out pretty neat. Again, you could have used a pen, one of those gold pens, and you'll actually see that in the next card. But this actually, it gives it a level of texture. It gives it some more dimension to it, even though I'm popping it up on foam tape. That was my reasoning for it. So we're just going to go with that. So put that in place. We still have those areas that I cut out that really weren't looking right. So grab those sequins again from Stampin' Up. Again, I believe they are discontinued. And I'm actually putting glue on the tips of those moons that I cut out. So I'm putting the stars there. So if they do pop up a little bit, you know, the stars will look like they're floating. Again, there are no mistakes in creativity. There's only opportunities to embellish further. Again, at least that's what I look at it as. So I just continued to add some sequins. And that is card 9. We just need to pop it up onto our card base. Making sure that it's even, because the die that I used is the exact size of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. While it says card 5, this is actually card 10 in the set. And there's that other die cut that I did. I did, as I said, made 2 of those. So we're going to make another shaker card with this. So I die cut the frame that comes into the kit. And I'm going to use the other galaxy background that I had shown you in the very beginning. Her technique to make those galaxy backgrounds is phenomenal. I have tried it with watercolor, and I know it's supposed to look horrible, but it just didn't look right. These, using the Oxide inks and the way that she did it, absolutely terrific. I'll actually see if I can link her video down in the description box. It's definitely something to see. What she does with these oxides are phenomenal. So putting glue around the outer edge, I've cut my acetate, and I'm going to put my acetate in place. I'm going to use the Doris foam strips. They came, I believe, in last month's Simon Says kit. So I'm actually going to use them for this because I have a really small border going around where I die cut. So I just put those in place, continued with the foam tape in the other areas. I'm going to use those sequins from Stampin' Up. I'm going to fill up that section. And then I'm just going to put my panel of the galaxy in the background. And I think it looks really good. The galaxy does really, can't really see it on camera, but it really does shine through, even though there's all those sequins in there. Going to pop this up on my top folding card base, I think. And then we're going to put that die cut, again, using the Nouveau embellishing mousse. There's a lot of things you can do with those mousse embellishments. Gluing that down, securing that in place. Going to grab my Faber-Castell pen again, and I want to draw the line. This time we're going to put some squiggles and some waves in it. And now we're going to work on the sentiment using my VersaFine black Onyx ink. I'm choosing the sentiment, Let Your Light Shine. And we're going to just hand cut that. I'm going to do another cloud type of cutting. Sorry, I went off camera with that. And as you can see, realize that, pulled it up. So just going to continue around to cut the cloud shape. And I do actually have one of those gold pens. I believe it's from Marvy. I got them at my local craft store. And I'm just going around the edges to get that gold around the cloud, just to let that stand out just a little bit. And I'm going to position that right above to the right. I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of that, pop her up, and set that in place. And that is our last card. Well, we continued with sequins. Sometimes I put sequins on, sometimes I don't. This time I absolutely did. So we added those throughout. Again, using that pencil, it really does work well. I know there's other tools, one from, you can get it in the jewelry section. You can even make your own, actually. Just using that, I forget what it's called, that tacky clay at the end of a toothpick. You can make your own that way. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more or stay tuned, please hit the subscribe button below. You can also check out my blog website for other projects that I create or get involved in. And please, I encourage you to share your creations. Supplies that I used in this video will be listed in the description box below. And by all means, everyone, take care. I hope you have a great day and always be creative. Till next time, bye.